GMC. It's the best. My GMC is jacked up. I'm putting 44s on the back. No, really, these 33s or whatever they are, 285, 75, R16s are big enough. What I'm doing is I've got a can of rust encapsulated paint. Think Pour 15, the silver bullet, call it what you want. This stuff was 20 bucks because the guy was liquidating it, so it took me 10 minutes to get the lid off, maybe 15, I kid you not. It would not come off. The reason I'm putting rust encapsulator on is because I have rust on the inner fender seam. Look at this. This is not good. Stepping back in time to what, 2010 or something? 2011, I bought a junk edition Suburban in Las Vegas. It was an 86 6.2 3/4 ton tailgate 4-wheel drive diesel Suburban, and it had no rust at all except the inner fender seam was all pokey. And you wonder to yourself, I'll turn on the light, how could it get rusty in Las Vegas? It's the high, dry desert, but it was. So I fluid filmed this one, and I sandblasted it. You can even see the pitting. I don't know if you can catch it, but there's even pitting where I sandblasted it, painted it, fluid filmed it. But the fluid film clearly gets washed off. See, there's sand there. And over here, I've already cleaned this with prep solvent. 20 bucks a gallon or 22 bucks a quart, go figure. So I sandblasted it, and I put some adhesive on it in the seam, and it doesn't matter because it's rusted. It makes me crazy that my beautiful Suburban, I should have put the fluid film wheel bearing thick grease on the inner fender seam, but it's too late. It's all expanded. Rust has gotten in the seam. There's a bit of rust on that bowl. There's a bit of rust here and there. Fluid film's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. All it is a coating, and if it stays on, the salt won't get to it. So I've taken some Prep-All because you can't use solvent-based cleaner. Think brake clean, carburetor cleaner. They specifically recommend not using those aerosol cleaners because they're solvent-based and they leave a residue, and I've heard that before from the people I bought my exhaust manifolds from, my long branch exhaust manifolds for my Grand Prix, which I'll get to put on eventually. So I cleaned the inner fender at great labor, elbow grease with Prep-All. 20 bucks a gallon, and a different company sells it for 22 bucks a quart. So I got a gallon of it. I didn't think I'd need that much, but I used a full roll of paper towels, 2 half rolls, because you just keep scrubbing and scrubbing, and then I eventually resorted to using some, brake clean, because it gets in the seam. It sprays in, then I wiped it down time and time and time again until the rags were almost perfectly clean. See the difference between the beginning and the end? What a struggle. So I got it all clean. It took me half an hour, 30 minutes each side of rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, and rubbing and rubbing and rubbing again. And now I'm going to paint on some of this goopy that sells for $50 a quart or a liter. I went to the dollar store and I bought some of their finest dollar brushes. This one's actually 50 cents. 2 brushes for $1. I'm going to work it in well. Something else crossed my mind, but it was too late. I thought I'd have this done already. Mercedes Source, this fellow Kent Bergsma in Washington State, sells some stuff called Miracle Paint. And it's obviously something relabeled, whatever, that isn't the issue. If he wants to relabel a product and sell it, he has really educational videos. I enjoy watching his videos. They mostly apply to Mercedes from the, late 70s, the 123 body style, the one everybody's so familiar with. And he runs all the way into the mid-90s. Mine's a 99. It's a newer series. He does sometimes cover the newer ones, but he has this Miracle Paint that's probably similar to Pour 15 or Rust Encapulator that I'm using. This is some brand, I forget what it is. There's also is it SIM paint products? SIM paint products? There's a whole bunch of them. And you're not supposed to sandblast off the rust because they encapsulate the rust, they react with the rust, and I could give you a whole long lecture if I knew what I was talking about, but I don't. So I'm going to paint this on. They say a thin coat, not to paint it on thick. Not to paint it on thick. And I've got to go. It's the Sabbath. I'm going for a Shabbat dinner at the rabbi, so it's already getting close to 4, and my day is over. It's almost New Year's. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. You got the drone of your choice, and you're now spying on your neighbors, and they'll probably shoot you out of the sky with their shotgun. Who owns the airspace above your property? Good question, huh? So I'm going to paint this on. They say to let it dry 36 to 72 or 48 to 72 hours, and not to paint it below 50 degrees, 10 degrees Celsius. Well, that's going to be a problem here because I've got to leave this place alone. But luckily, this warehouse showroom is insulated. Uh-huh. Yep, the 1961 Olds Twilight Mist Poly Corvair resurfaces. 1961 Olds. I'm going to paint this on thick and rich. Actually, not thick and rich. They say to paint it in thin coats. And the Pour 15 product is probably the best known. Paint over rust, Pour 15. But you can't leave it exposed to the elements. It can't be exposed to ultraviolet rays or it turns this nasty gray color. This isn't going to be the case here, even if it could be exposed to the elements, kind of like Grace roof membrane. You have to cover it within 30, 60, 90 days, whatever the number is. In this case, it's the inner fender well, so it's never going to see the light of day unless I flip this thing on its roof like that F-150 I saw in the ditch yesterday, driving down the Northway. People are so dumb, drive too fast. I guess we've all had those moments when we're coming into a curve a little too fast, and you think you've got four-wheel drive, stability control, but there's only so much control when you're going into a curve too fast. Whee! And off the road we go, rolling over, la-di-da. Losing your cell phone at the best, rolls out the window. If you don't have your seatbelts on, you roll out the window, and the vehicle will roll over right behind you. Comes right behind you, the vehicle. It tosses you, then it rolls you over and crushes you or tears your arms off. It's miserable. I read about it in the paper all the time. Drunk driving, under the influence. It's bad enough driving tired. We've all done that. So, back to the subject at hand. Go watch Mercedes Source. He's really good, has some really good videos. He sticks to the subject. He's got a tool to install a bushing in the Mercedes shifter and all kinds of cool little tricks to make your Mercedes last longer and be easier to repair and do a more effective repair. I don't claim to know anything here. I just make these entertaining videos that may contain a bit of education. What works better, fluid film, Amsoil metal protector? I've actually found that white lithium spray grease works really well because it dries like dried masking tape and it does not come off. So I've actually sprayed my inner fender wells of the Blazer with a white grease. You buy it when it's on sale and you just spray it on. You don't have to clean anything. You just spray it. The problem with the wheel wells, and that applies to anything, is the water just splashes off the wheels and it's just blasting 60, 100 miles. Think how many revolutions that is. So the wheel bearing grease might have been better. What really would have worked was an inner fender liner. Maybe spraying on rubberized undercoating would work. I'll turn the light on so you can get a better view. The black makes it lose its depth. Somebody suggested rubberized black undercoating, but then I'd coat it with fluid film once it dried for a day or a week. That way you'd have the protection of the rubberized undercoating, which is inherently thick, and you'd have the fluid film to keep it wet. So if it did have a void or a fissure or a crack, which it inevitably will, whether it's rubberized undercoating or Line-X or whatever spray-on stuff, it needs to be kept wet, and that would work really well. In my opinion, I haven't done it. Maybe I should have done it here. The glue that I put on, I used some construction adhesive in the seam. That seemed to work pretty well, but it was too late, and the fluid film washed off. So we'll see what happens. I'll put a couple coats of this stuff on. I keep moving the camera lens under the chrome wheel well trim. Sorry about that. Oh, this stuff is running all the way down my black glove. So I think I got it into all the voids. Push it in, work it in. This is the area that gets the splash when the wheel's going round and round, and I don't drive this thing that much. Want to hear a funny thing? I rented that, if you watched my videos from a few days ago, I rented the Hyundai in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I wrote a letter to Hertz, tell them that the tire was bald on the Hyundai. The front tires were right down to the wear bars. Right down to the wear bars. As close to flush as you can get. The guy wrote me back. He says, "They look acceptable to me." Give me a friggin' break. Can you believe it? You send somebody out with bald tires on a 1,500-mile trip, and then you send them a picture, clear picture, with flash, without flash, and the guy says, "Tires look acceptable to me." Crazy. Anyways, you can get into a big pissing match with these guys. Same kind of thing I got into with KYB. They say that their shock absorbers are just fine. Right, can't get the tire off with the shock installed because they're too short. I don't know why it is. We looked up specifications, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, the guy won't concede. I said, just send me some shocks for a different vehicle that are 1.5 inches longer and we'll call it good. We're talking $100 in shocks. I've already written 15 or 26 emails, I think, and it took 6 months to actually get a response from somebody in charge. And the guy just pretty much tells me to go to hell. Hard to believe, Mr. KYB guy. I dealt with the secretary or receptionist who had no clue about anything about cars. She didn't know the difference between a shopping cart and a car, claiming maybe the vehicle wasn't stock. I said it's dead stock except for the tires are slightly bigger than original because you can't get those originals unless you want to pay $300 each. So the general manager or whoever, the district area manager, whatever it was, got back to me months later after I went back and forth. I'd wait 2-3 weeks for a response. He says, "Too bad, so sad. They're yours, you bought them. Give them back to the dealer," which is Rock Auto. They wouldn't take them back because they said I waited more than 30 days, even though I had called within 30 days. Yada, yada. I tried it from Rock Auto. I tried to get my money back from KYB or get different shocks, maybe from one of the Suburbans. No dice. What a pain. You do something that you think is right, and they take advantage of you. And I don't get it. So I've got these KYB shocks that are 1.5 inches too small, even though they claim they're not. They sure are. Because they don't fit. They're just sitting in the box, and this thing is dripping everywhere. So I'm going to do this side now, which is not as bad, but you can see where the inner fender has expanded away on the seam. And it's really aggravating me. I've lost sleep over this. My beautiful Suburban. This side's not as bad, but it's really hard to see until it focuses. But the inner fender liner has separated from the other inner fender. There's a big gap there. And it should be nice and tight like that. So, I'll paint this goopy on. There's a bit of rust on the brake line, look at that. Salt somehow got under the fluid film. So, it's not rotted yet, but look at it. It's rusting away. Oh, my beautiful Suburban, I can't take it. I sandblasted this last year, the year before, but still, a little bit of rust there from friction of the body moving on the mount. Tough slog this winter. One thing to do is to move away to Greer, South Carolina. I'm on my way, buddy. Can't take this rust. Can't take the cold. Can't take it. Can't take it. Can't take it. Yep. No rust on this side. But the other side, USA diesel. The other side had rust. I was looking at it, and I said, "Wait a second." So I sandblasted the rust off, or I sanded it off. Look at that. What's that? That's rust. Yep. I sprayed some flat black paint on it just to carry me through the summer, and then winter's here, and I haven't gotten to it yet. Frustrating. Fighting the rust. Makes me crazy. Thanks for watching. I'm sure it's dripping. I'm going to take my service light over And I'm done for the day because it's getting chilly in here. And the Corvair. Thank goodness for Vladimir Putin. Crank that baby up. Crank this baby up. Phew, the fumes from the salamander are stinking me out of here. Thanks for watching.